God bless you all. I hope you're doing well. Those of you that are joining in right now, those of you that will watch the replay, do me a favor. Um, Hit that like button for me so we can push this out in the algorithm. I believe this is important to talk about. You know, we're you know, this is going to be good for us to understand, become aware of how badly government, the world is trying to control. And we're going to talk about what is coming as well. All right. But in the beginning, I'm going to talk about how Mark Zuckerberg, who is, the founder of Facebook, he admits to the vaccine um, side effects being concealed. All right. We're going to talk about it. Right? We're going to talk about Facebook admitting to censoring truth about vaccine side effects. And then we're going to talk about a upcoming threat of a deadly quad-demic coming. Now, there's a reason I'm doing this video. All right. There's a reason I'm doing this because of the times that we're in. And the media will feed you a lot of stuff and they'll tell you to get the vaccine. They'll tell you all these things. And I just want to give you a different perspective for you guys to pray, do your own research, and not just eat up everything the doctors tell you. Don't eat up everything. And obviously listen to your doctor. I'm not a doctor, but don't just eat up everything people are just saying, because some doctors, some nurses they're just saying what they're told to say. Some they're just saying what they're told to say. And they're puppets, right? Um, so we're going to talk about this, all right? And it just shows you how dangerous social media can be. Now, I don't know if YouTube's going to allow this to stay live. I don't know. So this might just be something that is live, and there won't be a replay because they might take it down, because that's the whole censorship and whatnot of this whole thing. But this needs to be talked about because we're in a very dark time. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this video. Do me a favor, hit that like button for me. And you're gonna hear Mark Zuckerberg admit to censoring the truth about the side effects of the vaccine, the side effects of the vaccine. And in the time of the pandemic, it was a crazy time. And anyone that spoke out against the vaccine, anyone that talked about side effects, they were silenced, they were censored, they were shadow banned, they were hated upon, they were called enemies of society and whatnot. And this vaccine things was being promoted like crazy. And he's going to talk about these things. All right. So y'all take a listen to this. We live in a dark world, man.
I'd say it was during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it.
And he's right here. He's talking about the fact checkers. Y'all know on Facebook or Instagram, controlled by Meta, anytime you would talk about side effects, anytime you'll talk about this happened to me, they would take it down. What kind of demonic agenda, right? What kind of demonic agenda is this? Where for 4 years straight, the truth of side effects are being censored, that we are not allowed to see the truth. And there have been so many vaccine injuries. Now, there's a reason I'm talking about this, okay? Because right now there's threats of a quad-demic that's going to be supposedly worse than COVID. So the reason I'm talking about this right now, all right? There's a reason I'm talking about this, right? But what kind of demonic agenda conceals the truth about side effects? This stuff is just absolutely satanic.
They pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think it was I wasn't involved in those conversations directly, but I think it was.
How difficult is that to not be involved in those conversations?
This is why I like to say you can't trust the media. You can't always trust your doctor. You can't always trust what is just put before you. You got to do your own research because the media is concealing things, they're hiding things. A lot of news outlets are controlled by the government, and the Biden administration was pushing forth a narrative that would actually go against the truth. They didn't want people seeing side effects. They didn't want people, they didn't want people seeing the issues with the vaccine because they were pushing vaccine, 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 vaccine. But so many injuries took place because of the vaccine. Now you got to understand, I'm not trying to go back in time and talk about 2020, 2021. I'm talking about it now for a reason because of what they are feeding us right now in the news about a new pandemic. Okay. Because they're going to try the same thing again. And I'm going to get there. I'm gonna get there, all right? I'm gonna get there, but I'm showing you right now how they were spoon feeding us. Take the vaccine, take the vaccine, take the vaccine, but they were hiding away the side effects. They were hiding the truth about the side effects from us. All right. Now take a look at this lady right here talking about her vaccine injury. This is what the media, the Biden administration did not want you to see. Right? They were demanding Facebook to take it down. Anyone that had a vaccine injury, anyone that had any bad reactions, they censored it. Right? So y'all take a listen to this.
Story time about the time that I got full paralysis from my neck down from the COVID vaccine. So during nursing school, I was required to get the COVID vaccine, and I wasn't really wanting to get the COVID vaccine, but in order to do clinicals, you had to get the COVID vaccine. So I got my first dose of the COVID vaccine. Fine, no issues, everything was good. Got Pfizer, by the way. Second dose comes along, and then all of a sudden, I wake up and I have kind of like that pins and needles kind of feel, like when you wake up or if you're sitting too long, like with your feet and like your foot falls asleep, that kind of feeling. So I was like, that's weird, but probably just, my foot fell asleep, no big deal. So throughout the day, it started to get worse and worse. And this was a Saturday at the time, or a Sunday, I can't remember. And so no doctor's office was open except for urgent care. So my husband was like, why don't you just go to urgent care and see what's going on? I'm like, what are they going to tell me? They're not going to be able to tell me anything. But I went to urgent care. They're like, oh, maybe it's diabetes. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, whatever. I'm like, I'm just going to go home. It'll be fine. No big deal. Went home. It was not fine. My pins and needle kind of feeling started going now up to around like my shin area. And I was like, that's not normal. But I was still like, I hate hospitals. I don't want to go like in the hospital because I'm just going to sit in the waiting room in the ER forever. So I ended up going in the emergency room just because it started to get worse. So I was in the emergency room. They're checking everything. And all of a sudden the doctor checks my reflexes. No reflexes. Nothing's reacting. When they like hit your knee and like it goes up, it didn't happen. So they were like, that's weird. They were like, worst case scenario, we'll do a lumbar puncture and we'll just kind of see. But that's worst case. That probably won't happen. Worst case happened because all my tests were coming back negative. Everything was coming back inconclusive. Like nothing, blood tests, no issues. So then we did the lumbar puncture to find out that my levels were heightened and it is in fact Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré syndrome attacks your nervous system, which basically from the COVID vaccine, it triggered my body into thinking that it should get better, so it attacked itself. So With Guillain-Barré, it's ascending paralysis all the way up, which leads you to be in a coma. So I was put on a step-down unit, and it started getting worse and worse to where it compromised. I could not walk completely. I could barely breathe.
And can you imagine all of this from a vaccine, right? And what Facebook and Instagram were doing is that they were censoring all of this. Fact checkers, fact checkers, fact checkers. And what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg, he is confessing now and admitting to doing these things on purpose, that the fact checkers came from the Biden administration. Like, how diabolical, how satanic is that? How diabolical. And we all know that vaccine came out so quick because the pandemic just came really quickly, and they came up with the vaccine super, super quick, and they just gave it to people. And now Facebook is coming out and admitting it. Censorship. You can't know the truth of the side effects. This is satan. It's literally, you know what it is? It's witchcraft. It's witchcraft. It's like someone giving you some antidepressants and not telling you the side effects of what could happen. They just give it to you, and you start feeling, oh my God, I thought they said it was safe. I didn't understand the side effects or anything like that. This is witchcraft because it's manipulation. And what they would do is that they would go against anyone that was preaching the truth, anyone that was talking about the truth of their side effects, their experience. They would take down their social medias. They will shadow ban them. They will censor them. They will do all these things to push forth their own narrative. It is control. It is control.
And then it went up to my neck. I couldn't swallow. I was choking on water, so I had to be on a thickened diet, which if you've ever been on a thickened diet, it's absolutely horrendous. And so after that, I had 7 rounds of IVIG therapy to help me gain mobility back again. Thankfully, I was able to gain mobility back again and start slowly being able to walk. But as of today, I still have issues with like closing my hands, opening my hands. I'm way luckier than a lot of people are. Most people end up in a coma. I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups. Like when I was going through the actual like hard part of it, like people were still sometimes can't walk, can't speak, everything. It's crazy. Anyways, screw the COVID vaccine.
So she had a whole Facebook group where there were other people that were talking about their issues and their reactions to this whole COVID vaccine thing. And these are the things that would never be broadcast. They won't be on the news. You rarely see them on social media because everything's being taken down. I remember around that time, I used to post things on Instagram story. I would post things on Facebook, and I would just be shadow banned. Hundreds of thousands of followers, but whatever I post, 0 views, 0, maybe 1 or 2 likes, maybe 10 likes, but no one would see what I'm posting because they're literally censoring everything. Literally censoring everything. Now listen to what the excuse Mark Zuckerberg comes up with. Listen to this.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots.
By the way, this is like New World Order stuff. This is like the control of it. When the Antichrist comes, right? I'm not saying we're going to be here for that, but when he comes, he's going to control and censor everything. There's going to be one belief, one religion, one order, one thing, one everything. And if you speak against it, censorship, taking down, all that stuff. No more freedom of speech. And that's what's being attacked right now. Freedom of speech.
Around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression.
Restoring free expression. And listen, I'm not trying to be political, but notice how they never said this in the Biden administration. They never told us that things were being censored. They never told us that they were hiding things and the Biden administration was pushing. They never said these things until now that Trump is being put back in office. Listen, if Trump did not win, okay? If Trump did not win, censorship would still be on the level it was in 2020, 2021. You feel me? The only reason Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are taking this route is because of Trump winning the election. So he's basically telling us there was no freedom of speech. You couldn't say what you want. There was a controlled narrative. Right? It's just this thing is so demonic. Yeah, we knew what was going on, but they're admitting it. This is darkness
On our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Can you imagine? He's basically saying right now, like, they were censoring conversations, people talking about immigration, talking about gender. There was no freedom of speech. Anytime you talked about your own opinions when it comes to your faith, homosexuality, LGBTQ, censored. You're not allowed to talk about that. You can't talk about your biblical stuff. You can't quote Leviticus when it talks about this and that. You cannot do that. This is witchcraft. That's why I think it's so important for us to somehow build our own Christian platforms. Because what's happening right now, they're attacking the truth, censoring the truth, and they're censoring anyone that will stand on biblical truth when it comes to sin. Right? But it's a good thing now. That's why I tell people it's a good thing now that Trump is president. I know a lot of people don't like Trump, but it's a good thing that Trump is president because on social media, there's more freedom of expression now because they're taking the censoring off. And that's why I know X is a wild platform with a lot of sexual morality. I know a lot of people don't like Elon. They think he's the Antichrist and whatnot. But the good thing about X is there's no censorship. That's the only good thing where you can go there for truth. But a lot of these other social media platforms is censorship, right? And I know X has a lot of nudity and whatnot, and Facebook and Instagram doesn't have as much, but you got to understand freedom of speech and the truth is what you want all the more. You can filter out all the nasty stuff, but freedom of speech and the truth being projected is what you want. You don't want a biased news outlet. We need Christian platforms or the narrative will always be controlled and we will be spoon-fed what the government wants. And what the news projects is what the government wants us to see. That's what people don't understand. What we see in the news is what the government wants. It's all a controlled narrative, right? It's all a controlled narrative, all of it. All of it.
What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower-severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts.
They stopped recommending these posts when it had to do with Donald Trump, but they were showing you everything about Kamala, everything about Joe Biden. Like, let's keep it real. Like, let's keep it real. And this is why they banned Trump off social media. Like, let's keep it real. They banned him off social media at the time. They censored everything. Like, this was so one-sided and demonic. It was ridiculous. So ridiculous. So when he's saying, oh, we pulled back political stuff, they pulled back political stuff when it came to Trump, when it came to the other side exposing the side effects of this and talking about hydroxychloroquine and things like that. They censored all of it, right? They censored all of it. Can you imagine nurses lost their job because of talking about other solutions and whatnot and the side effects?
But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice.
Listen, I'm happy that all this is happening, especially for like Christian purposes, because on Facebook, I am shadow banned like crazy. I'm shadow banned on so many different platforms. And I've tried to expose this stuff in the past, but they just shadow ban you, shadow ban you, shadow ban you, and shadow ban you. And all this really started happening in the last 4 years, pandemic, and all the just assumptions and us saying this and saying that. They're finally admitting it. The US government was pushing forth a narrative. They were pushing for things to be taken down. It was control, it was manipulation. Now, this all ties into what I'm gonna be talking about right here about a quad-demic,
Hey everyone.
a quad-demic that is being threatened. All right. We're going to talk about this right now. All right. So y'all take a listen to this. Everything I talked about is adding up to what I'm going to show now that will influence your life. All right. So y'all take a look at this right here.
If you know someone staying home sick today, you're not alone. New this morning, health officials are warning about a deadly surge in respiratory illnesses, now at high levels in 35 states. It's being referred to as the winter quad-demic, an increase in cases of COVID, RSV, stomach viruses, and flu.
Can you imagine? A surge, deadly surge, quad-demic, increasing cases of COVID, RSV, stomach viruses, and flu. And they're also talking about like some norovirus and a one in China that has HMP or something going crazy in China that's hitting the UK. And
all leading to a spike in emergency room visits. In Chicago, 2 children under age 2 have died from the flu so far this year. Last year, there were 0. In Louisiana, parents are rushing kids to the ER with stomach viruses, primarily due to dehydration. And in Minnesota, hospitals report unprecedented visits with longer wait times in the ER.
One snapshot is on Tuesday, out of all admissions, about 20% tested positive for some type of respiratory virus.
Doctors say the spike in illnesses could be due to gatherings over the holidays and lower vaccination rates.
you see how they're spoon feeding? They're saying, oh, all these cases, everything that's happening right now is because of gatherings and low vaccination rates. So what does that mean? They're going to try to implement social distancing. They're going to try to implement lockdown. They're going to try to implement these things again. They're going to try to. They're already pushing the vaccine. They're already pushing it on us and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And this time I'm gonna say this. This might get flagged. This may not exist after I end this video. And this video may not exist. I'm gonna say this. Operate in wisdom. Declare Psalms 91 over you. Eat healthy. Live a life of prayer. Repent of your sins. Confess your sins. Work out. Drink lots of water. Wash your hands. Do everything you can do to be healthy. Because the truth is this: there's a demonic agenda. Okay, they're putting it in front of our face. Quad-demic. Quad-demic. And they're saying that things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Boom. All of a sudden, February, March, horrifying, terrible lockdown. But they introduce it slowly in January. Slowly. Just like 2020. January, then what happened? March, done. March, done. Lockdown. I remember I was playing professional basketball and around 2020, and I started getting sick like crazy in January. Like crazy. I started getting sick. I didn't understand what was going on. My whole team was getting sick. And then we had a game on the 19th, March 19th, I believe, March 19th or 18th. And then we played that game. We won. The next day, the season was over. The next day, the season was over. Lockdown. Boom. Just like that. Just like that. And I believe that we are going to have a repeat. I'm praying against it. All right. I'm praying against it, but I believe there's going to be a repeat. And I believe there's going to be a glorification of the vaccine. There's going to be just this advice of don't gather, stay away from each other. This is going to be worse than COVID because of for all these different viruses, and it's mutating. It's more transmissible to humans, and it's demonic. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm not going to comply. I'm not going to comply. And listen, I'm going to say this to you. Apply wisdom and be cautious. Don't be foolish, right? Don't be foolish. Apply wisdom, because much of what is happening is yes, they have a demonic agenda and things can be inflated and whatnot, but there still is something evil out there and demonic. And I don't want people to begin to just operate in wisdom. All right. The Bible tells us that there will be great earthquakes in various places, famines and pestilences, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. But it seems like now in the Trump administration, we will hear the truth of the dangers of the side effects. We will hear the truth more on social media, and there won't be this gross censorship on the internet where it tells us, take this, do this, take this, do this. I believe there's going to be some type of stand online that we did not see in 2020, because there has to be some type of stand, because they are forcing this down our necks again. Right? And these are things to be aware of. So I suggest, eat healthy, take your vitamins, things you should normally be doing, because there's things being released. It's already here, but they're pushing it all the more. And obviously we do not have fear. We do not have fear, but you need to operate in wisdom, right? You need to operate in wisdom. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. All right. And my prayer is for everyone to stay safe, and to be aware of the devil's devices and make sure you have no open doors to Satan. All right. Um, exactly. All right. Anyways, guys, hit that like button for me.